Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for someone who truly gets it? At J. Branch and Associates, we provide mental health support for BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and others facing unique challenges. We understand the weight of generational trauma, the struggles of identity, and the pressures of being a part of an underestimated and overlooked group. At J. Branch and Associates, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. We create a safe, culturally aware space where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. Finding a therapist who truly fits you matters, and that's exactly what we're here for. Our team of highly trained licensed therapists bring compassion, empathy, and real-world experience to help you on your journey to healing and growth. We're committed to helping you become the best version of yourself. Ready to take the next step? Visit us at www.drjbranch.com for more information, or call or text 404-436-2540 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. You can also book your first session today. Thank you for choosing J. Branch and Associates, therapists of color providing exceptional care to BIPOC communities, quality service, exceptional care from authentic professionals.
Three parallel. Yeah. Three parallel. Yeah. Three parallels.
Three Parallel Podcast. Come take this walk with me.
Welcome back to the Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we once were, embrace who we actually are, and make room for who we're trying to become. And today, I'm telling y'all, we got a show for you today. And what I mean by that, as y'all know, when I bring family on, we like to have a good time. And this is family. This is my brother from another mother, over 20-year friendship from college all the way to professional life. We are here. He has been a huge help to me in my life, personally and professionally, literally a brother from another mother who's helped me on my journey, as well as me being able to do the same for him. He has a different perspective about life that I want to share with you all by bringing him here so you can get the breadcrumbs that he drops all day long. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the Dr. Julian Magee. Welcome to the show, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Who would have known 20-some years ago, sitting in Livingston, Alabama, with more cows than I think people, we'd be around a podcast going worldwide, not just nationwide. We're going global.
I would agree.
Well, I would say we knew it. We just didn't know how we were gonna get here. Maybe that's a better thing.
These are facts. These are facts. So to the listeners, this is a great opportunity to get your scales journal. Get your journal out, because there's going to be a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets. You're going to get hit in the head with a honey bun. I need you to be prepared. If you're driving, if you're working, listen, take mental notes. It's okay. Long as you get the info, that's what's important. I don't know what's going to happen, and that's what I love, okay? But I know who I'm dealing with. Y'all just getting introduced to them. So let's dive.
Don't give me too much credit.
Listen, I got to. So let's dive in. Let's start, where you want to, and I would love to for you to share with the listeners your journey, your legacy, where you are now, as a professor, as a professional, just your whole life, your lived experience, whatever you wanted to share. How would you like for us to start today?
Ooh, you going deep already, but I appreciate it. Ain't no place else to. I want to be like, that drink that sneak up on you, but you wanted to hit you in the face heavy and hard.
Listen, I know who we got on the air now. I know who we got. So ain't no listen. Yeah, we like old Cadillacs. We need a little time to warm up. But to me, you already hot, so let's get to it.
All right. Well, man, what's my legacy? That's something that I think about more and more every day these days. My legacy is of a helper, man. I've embraced that more and more each day. I was actually sitting and thinking about that in my office yesterday. And it's changed. I started life as an athletic trainer, my professional life as an athletic trainer and physical therapist. So I wanted to help people who suffer from injury, disability, get back to whatever function they could. Now, it may not look the same as it once did, but help them to get back to life, to experience life. And And I think about that now, even in my role as a professor. I'm helping people to experience life truly, fully, and authentically in every aspect. I look at it with my learners. I don't have students, I have learners, because I don't need them to just sit and hear me pontificate and talk. I mean, I could stand in the mirror and record myself if I wanted to hear somebody talk all day. But I want to have an exchange of ideas. I want to see life be transformed and changed. Because when I look back on everything that's been given to me, no matter what I've been done, the people who mattered the most, the moments that have mattered the most, have transformed me to be better. Um, in the words of Dr. Jason Branch, spiritually, I'm sorry, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and now physically in some form for myself. So that's what I'm hoping to give to my learners, to those I have the opportunity to speak in front of, to those I have the opportunity to just sit and have a conversation with. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm on my helping journey, my healing journey, even in a way, knowing that it's helping and healing me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I want to, since we already here in the basement, I don't
Well,
mind
we're
being
gonna
in the
go.
basement because the basement is where we grow. This is the place that a lot of us, we got a padlock on the door. We don't spend a lot of time there. But for you and I, we don't have a problem going there. So I'm curious to know, like with all your credentials and accolades and success and all the things that you've done, you still have this mentality of serving, of giving, of helping, because you don't have to. And there's a lot of people that don't. That's in our position, but you still have that desire, just like you did when we were in school, to help, to serve, to support others. Where did this come from, and what keeps this mindset still going? Because at any point in time, you can change, but this is who you've always been.
I think it comes from my parents. When I look back, they've always been serving in some kind of way, helping people. Now they might fuss and complain about it, but they helping and serving. I mean, I'm tired of such and such. Why don't they do this and why don't they do that? But they're doing it. And as you get older and as you grow and learn, I've always been a curious person. I wanted to know the why. And, it got me in trouble when I was little. You ask too many questions. Why you want to know why? Just because I said so. But, I want to know what drives people, because in my role, how can I help to to create some change? Because I don't change people. People have to change people. But how do I help them see and understand and think differently, or recognize how they think differently?
Mm,
Um, and you have to understand the why. So for my parents, I would just wonder why sometimes they would do when I saw them be tired. They would do when they said they didn't want to, why they would do it. And I think it just came down for them, for love of family and people. I would see it with my dad. I saw it with my mom, and in ways that I never even imagined. There would be people in the neighborhood who might need some clothes, and she wouldn't go out and just tell everybody. She'd just go to the store, and she might go to Rose's, little store in town, and pick up some extra stuff. And she said, well, such and such, they had this going on. So I was picking up something anyway. So I just thought I'd get something. And then it was always never this need to be acknowledged for it.
mm,
And so when you sit back and think about it sometime, I think to even today, that's why it's hard for me to think of myself as this. I'm a helper. I have to be okay with who I am, what I am, and all this, and accept that, and know that I'm not looking for any accolades for it. It'll come along if it comes along, if it doesn't, because I'm going to still be who I am.
mhm.
When I'm at 1 million plus, whatever, or whether if I only got $10 in my pocket. Either way, I'm going to be that person trying to figure out how I can help. But it's that dissection of where does this come from? And so it was always put in me. And then, I never knew this about my grandfather on my dad's side early on. He was a Marine, and when he got out of the military, he decided, from Mississippi, South Mississippi, very rural area, very segregated, racist, of the racists. But he got back and he decided he wasn't gonna be a second class citizen.
Mm,
And he it was told a story. He went to work. He wanted a 15-cent raise. 15 cents, not $15, 15 cents. And man told him no. And he was a truck driver. So he came back, was a truck driver. And he did his truck route, parked his truck, left, told the man he ain't come back no more. And he did. So, but what he did though, he was he got another job as a truck driver. And he was taking voter registrations along his route. Nobody knew. And he would always, you know, that was his thing. And I always wondered why, like my dad, my brother, everybody in my family was about voting. If you didn't vote, it was like, you went and shot somebody. They weren't having it. And it was like his sacrifice. So again, it just goes back to this service has been ingrained. Now, I'm not saying my family is perfect. We're not the Magees of South Mississippi. We're not some regal royal legacy family. It's just these are the things. And then I saw people always willing to help. And sometimes I also could see that growing up where it's a great strength, but it also can be a weakness sometimes, too. Because you're always feeling like you're obligated to do something. So I had to learn how to separate when it's okay to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to always be there. And those are the things that when we have this dissonance with, we fight with it sometimes. Well, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? It's gonna get done. You just might not be the first person. You might not be the person to do it this time. You don't have to do it every time. And in helping, what are you losing?
Yeah.
And we don't ask ourselves that. Some of us we can't realize, but we might be losing time with our partner. We might be losing time with our children. And we put that on them. So I think about all these things that I've seen, that I've noticed, and I dissected out. And what it does for me, it allows me not to have resentment in the times where maybe before it was like, well, I remember that one time they didn't come to this thing that I was doing because they was too busy helping this person and that person. But it gives me understanding. And that understanding helps me to say, okay, dive in, okay, pull back. Enough is enough right now. Go take care of yourself. Go fill your cup back up because it's empty and you scraping in there, you're sucking on air. Ain't nothing in there. You can't get no more. Fill that cup back up and let it get to the top. Don't fill it halfway because that's what you need. Because you got some more help that you got to do.
Oh man, listen, we already in the basement. I didn't know we was gonna be like deep in the basement already, but hey, this was where we at. So you're talking about a lot of different things. It's still the legacy. It's still the background, upbringing. All those lived experiences that you had. It helped you become the person that you are. So regardless of credentials, accolades, money, you're still the core of who you are authentically. And I want to dive into what you mentioned earlier about helping and healing, those two different worlds that you're integrating right now, especially as someone who works in physical therapy. Like a lot of times, just my lived experience, people who work in physical therapy or physical health, such as certain doctors, their main concern is about the body, the not the being. So the bedside manner may not be the best, but I've always known you to be able to manage both worlds because you understood and respected both. I've never heard anybody that's in the profession with physical health that talks about mental health as well. You've always integrated the two. So I'm curious to learn more of this world of helping and healing and being able to see the being and not just the body. If you could tell us more about that.
But to me, it's easy. It's easy, but it becomes the hardest thing. We often talk about soft skills in physical therapy or in medicine. That's not dealing with mental health. And I hate that term because these soft skills are personal skills. They're people skills. And if they were so soft, why are they so hard to master? That's what it bothers me when I hear that. So I tell people we don't have soft skills anymore. I have professional people, human skills. And I tell my learners all the time, you all are intelligent people, very intelligent. You will get clinical things down. You'll know how to move this shoulder. You'll learn this special test. You'll learn it. Even when I get the chance to talk to medical students or doctors. I speak now. I got a chance to speak at a hospital last year. So it's a room full of all kinds of people. And I asked them if they had heard the term soft skills, and they didn't even hear that one. So I'm like, but you're dealing with people. How do you not know what it means to be to look at and value humans? So going back, I tell my learners that they can do 3 things. I promise you, they will have some impact in the life of their patient or client. And those 3 things are: can you see, hear, and value the individual in front of you? And they'll say, "Oh, well, I can do that." And I'm like, it's not as easy as I'm making it sound now. I promise you, it's like saying, can you walk 10 miles? But when you start to realize just how far that is, maybe you can't. And you can't do it easily, because I didn't start off here. But I always had this thing about people, because I would recognize when I would have interactions, or I would see some of my classmates or see some of the people who taught me that they were great at these very technical skills, these hands-on things. But I was like, man, they suck with people. They absolutely are terrible with people. And the other thing that got me was when I would see people when I was a student, they would whisper to me, "Hey, can you come over and work with me?" Or when I was new and new into the profession, and there are people who've been there 10 plus years, 20 years, "I want to work with you." And it was that I saw, heard, and valued the individual in front of me. And it takes a lot to do that, because sometimes I have to value some people who may not value me as an
Ooh.
individual. They may not
Oh.
value. I'm sorry.
Ooh,
I'm sorry.
no, no,
I'm
no, no,
sorry.
no.
I
So
tell
listen.
people. So let me tell the folks at home. First of all, when you deal with me, you might need to look at your toes every now and again. And if you can't say amen, say ouch.
Ooh.
I mean, if I'm stepping on them, it's for a reason. If you feel a certain way, it's for a reason. But that's all right, because we're gonna get there together. I didn't start in this place. But I just want to put that disclaimer. I should have put that out at the beginning.
Hey, you put it out now. You put it out now. So with that said, I would love if you could share those experiences and what you saw and what you experienced and what you decided, like, I'm not going to do what I was taught or told or what I see from other people. I'm going to try to shift and do things that work better for me. And even dealing with people who had a hard time seeing you, hearing you, or valuing you, and you're helping them. So if you could share some of those stories, those experiences, and how you overcame it.
Well, the first part, I think it was always about time management. I love working in clinics, and then I didn't work for myself. But I never wanted to be a PT practice owner, believe it or not, just because I was like, yeah, that wasn't my calling. That I knew that. I managed clinics and I directed clinics, but I never wanted to own one for myself. But it was always about time. You have to give this person so much time. You have to see all these patients. I'm like, yeah, but it was always the nagging in me. And I'm not a perfectionist, but I like to win. And I hate losing more than I love winning. So if I felt like a patient left after an interaction with me, or a client left after interaction with me, and it was a terrible experience for them, that's a loss for me. And I can't handle that. They didn't sit right in my soul, because that means in that moment I didn't see, hear, or value that individual in some kind of way. And in PT, unlike working with an MD, so I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I'm not a medical doctor. And one is not more important or less than the other. I like to put that out there. So love my MD folks, but y'all got some skills that I don't, and I got some skills that you don't, and we can meet in the middle and we work together as a team. But when I would always notice that my patients who had to wait, they would wait forever to see a doctor who would only spend 5 minutes with them. And if they had to wait 1 minute for me and I spent 55 minutes with them, they complained about it. So I'm like, what is this about?
Yeah.
And so I started to have to think about these interactions. Well, every engagement they have with the healthcare system, somebody made them wait. They talk at them. They don't talk with them. So again, nothing to do with my skills. It's all about how they introduce themselves. Did they hear, see, and value? Did they value that they took public transportation to get here? The bus was late, so then they were late. or they needed a ride and the ride showed up late, or they're telling them to hurry up, I need to get somewhere, whatever it is. So I'm dealing with a whole bunch of things that this person had to engage with before they ever saw me. It ain't about me. And we don't, it's hard to tell ourselves that because this, right? I'm being nice to this person. This is my first time interacting. You know, I'm getting my feelings in it, but it's like, oh, I don't get my feelings hurt easy. Oh, you don't now, because now you're not human. But again, you have to, you're in a profession, or we are in a profession where we're telling people, come to me in your discomfort, come to me at your worst. And I think I can just tell you what to do because somebody gave a degree to me, or I earned this degree. They didn't give it to me. And now I'm the master and the captain, not of just my fate and soul, but yours too. I know better than you. I know you better than you. Who am I to have the audacity to even begin to think like that? But that's how we're trained in our professions, right? Because you're the professional. So as I go through and I start to rethink it, let me stop. How's your day? I'm fine. No. How are you today? Really? Well, you know, people look at you shocked. You want to know about me. Well, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I'm going to get personal with you. So yes, I want to know about you.
Yeah.
This is how I'm doing. You're the 15th person I saw today, and I still got 6 more to go. It's been a long day for me. And there, you know, people are skeptical. Well, you opening up, you sharing something with me. So then, you know, I started to really take this human approach to people. And I started to see different. You know, my compliance rate, and I don't like that word, my arrival rate increased. Absenteeism is down.
Yeah.
They're coming back asking for me, how you doing, Julian? How was that drive from Birmingham in this morning from Tuscaloosa to Tuscaloosa? You know, they knew I was driving an hour. The people who had to wait 2 minutes for me, well, they said, well, he's probably giving his time to somebody else because I know how much time he takes with me. So I started to see a shift.
Yeah.
In these things, and I'm just putting it together. So, no, I don't like to make anybody wait, but if I'm giving one attention and they see it, and they know I'm just not picking and choosing who I'm giving that extra time to, well, they're like, well, he's doing it for them. And people can become patient because somebody's taking the time to see, hear, and value them. You know, I learned about country music, working in rural areas, things that I would never, but I need to feel like I had something in common because I could see this person really like this. Or I learned about rock. I learned about all these things just that would fill me with information and stuff, but I could have a conversation with anybody to make sure that we stayed engaged, we stayed in community. And I saw the effect that it had. It made me a better therapist because this person is now telling me things.
Yeah.
They're understanding when I tell them, hey, this gonna hurt. This is going to hurt. You know, I tell them, first week, you're gonna hate me. Second week, you're gonna like me. By the time you leave here, you're gonna love me though. But you're gonna keep coming back. You're gonna keep coming back to let me hurt you. And there are not that many masochists out here. There are some, you know, no shame, you know. But, you know, you're going to say, oh, that hurt. But then you walk out the door and say, I'll see you next time. So I know, and you say it with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Because I took the time to invest in you and engage with you fully, authentically. I honor who you are in that moment. And so a lot of my colleagues would just look and say they didn't understand, or they would try to say, it's just me. And I told them, I am a magnificent individual. I am spectacular. I am amazing. I'm already sound like I'm giving myself an affirmation. And then I would tell them, but I'm no more special than you have the potential to be.
That's
You know, I'm not better than you, but I'm no, and I didn't tell them that they were there. I tell them I'm no more special than you have the potential to be. Here's my thing that Miss Jones, who walked through here, I know something about it. And it's genuine. I'm just not trying to know it to get in her business, because I see that's the thing that she talks about all the time. Or this one is worried about her husband working 2 shifts at the plant, back to back. He's a coal miner. And there was an accident in the mine the other day. So yeah, she can't give me her energy, her full energy, her full attention.
Mhm.
And so again, I'm no better than you have the potential.
Yeah.
Now, if you think I'm better than you right now, well, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's my little secret that I'm sharing with you.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out how to cultivate that for you and within you. And I'm willing to help you as best as I can, but I can't make you see, hear, and value an individual. I can only tell you what it means to me.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful. To the listeners, I hope you're paying attention to the breadcrumbs. It's not even breadcrumbs, this is loaves of bread. Y'all getting hit upside the head with a honey bun. So I want to switch it to the other side because this is the work that you're doing. And I have a few assumptions. I would love for you to validate the facts behind these assumptions.
Can
Because I may
before
not
we
go ahead.
before we move on there, can I share one thing?
Jump in. You got it.
And this is about when I wasn't seen, heard, and valued. And I
Which is
remember this.
exactly where I was about to go. So you right
Okay,
on point. You right on
okay,
point.
okay. This is your show.
You good.
Um, and
Jump
it's
in.
speaking to me in this moment as I talk about that, because this is the hardest one. I was in a clinic and I had a patient come in looking for everybody. Who's the manager? Who's the person in charge here? It's me. But who's really in charge here? It's me. It's not that guy over there. No, but I would like to see that guy. I was like, okay, but you have to see me in order to see that guy. That guy, again, he's a white male physical therapy assistant. Great, love him to death. But he wasn't in charge. Me, black male, DPT. I am in charge. This man, how'd you get into school? Was it some kind of affirmative action thing? All these things, he definitely ain't trying to see me. And he damn sure can't value me talking like that, right? Because he's questioning how I'm here. You did somebody else not get in because you got in, and it's like, well, I like to think I'm pretty intelligent, sir. And I'm having this conversation with you. And to know something about me, I tell people, and it's hard, don't get me wrong, is that I will follow someone's logic until they contradict themselves in the moment, because then I got him. And he went on with all this stuff about, well, I can't do this and I won't do this, and I need you to bring somebody here too. I was like, you have every right to go anywhere that you want to go. It's like, if you come here, this is what you will do. You will have respect for everybody here. That's me included. If you want to be seen here, if you want to be treated, now by all means, you can go anywhere else. The closest PT clinic around here is about 20 miles. So you can drive that 20 miles, 40 total round trip for you. But if you come here, we won't have discussions about my race or any other race. We'll have cordial conversation. These are the rules to be here. And if you don't like it, by all means, you can take I'm going to call your company. Said, please do. Here's the regional vice president's number. Here's the COO's number. Here's the CEO's number. I'm giving them to him. Are you not scared? I was like, scared of what? I have fear that they're going to fire me. And I said, I've only tried to be professional to you. And you have tried to insult me. And I said, you tried because you can't insult me, because your words, I don't give them that power. And I give them no value whatsoever. And he's looking, nobody's ever talked to him. And I can tell he's getting upset. And again, when you've cultivated community in practice, people are getting upset for me. Not just my staff, not just the employees, but some of my patients. And I'm like, no, I'll handle this. And they're like, but you're gonna say he can come back? I was like, yeah, he can come back. But if he comes back, these are the rules that he's going to have to abide by. And he came back a few times, and then he left. And it I have to go back and sit back in those moments. And in that time, I had an hour commute. So I spent a lot of time dissecting that interaction and wondering why I didn't fly off the handle. Because I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, spectacular, all that. But I am human. and I am a Black man from the deep South, so I have some moments, trust me. And so I had to have this conversation with myself of like, where did that come from? Why didn't you do that? And with all this feeding, and it was because no matter the people who came to my rescue, again, understanding human nature, understand human interaction, people, I could have lost more by going off on it. Or maybe I wouldn't have. But I just feel like I know people better than that. If I had blown off the handle, it would have cost me more than it ever would have cost him. And he would have won. So for everything that he thought I was, or somebody who looked like me was, he was sorely disappointed. To not only that I stood there and corrected him, by the way, I corrected his behavior in the most professional way, but I gave him the opportunity to return. I didn't tell him you can't ever come here again.
Yeah.
So if you choose to come here, this is what you have to do. And so he lost. And again, I would like to tell you that that's every situation I've ever encountered. It's not. But when you start to go into the basement, when you start to delve deeper, when you master these skills that are so important to human understanding. Because what he thought about me, what ain't my business. You know, that's my new thing. What people think about me, it is not my business. And if I let that be my business, that means somewhere inside, and it might be I'm thinking that about myself, or I'm too concerned that that's how the world views me. And I can't be concerned with how the world views me when I know that I'm doing everything to put my best foot forward. So either if I'm concerned about that, that means it must be something that I'm not doing completely right. And I don't want to say right as in you're wrong, you're bad, those types of things. But it has to be something deep down. I walk by that basement door, but I don't want to go in because I know I done put some stuff in there that I need to go in there and clean out. But I'm not willing to check it out. I'm not willing to see what it is. If it gnaws at me. But I can say that ain't my business because I done swept out my basement. I know what I am and what I am not. I done cleaned up. I done made space to put some more stuff in there, you know. You know, I'm working on a man cave. Actually, it ain't even a basement no more.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I didn't open it up, you know. I'm trying to not have no corners in no dark places that I'm scared to go into anymore. And that's where you get to this place of saying, I can move forward, I can move easy. I can hear that. And yes, it might make me upset in the moment, but I can check it. Because he left more embarrassed than I ever did.
Wow. Wow. So how did you develop this sense of awareness? Because what I'm hearing is awareness and self-discovery and knowing oneself, so much so that nobody can tell you who you are and who you're not because you know who you are. So it sounds like you've been doing some work, and that's how you were able to get that basement into a man cave. So if you could share with us, what's that work? What's some of the work? Where did you get these skills and these tools to be able to just move differently? As well as, I want to dive into the race piece, like being a Black male in this position of authority and being in authority over other people that don't look anything like you, and being subject, especially living in the rural area, being subjective to these moments, I'm sure possibly more often than not. How do you manage you in it, like learning these skills, and then to be able to keep going? Because you have a long career. Like, how have you been able to maintain, especially where you're probably dealing with this more often than not?
Well, getting to the, creating this man cave, that's still a work, and that's probably more so, I probably cleared out some space, but I was dumping other stuff in there. And I was good about that professionally, maybe not so much personally. But life happens. And, I was very good about professional things. I can handle just about anything because that was easy for me. It was easy to go to work. because work, I'm serving. So I can add that on. When I was trying to avoid other places, I could go into service. I could take on helping people. So that was easy. And from a racial ethnic standpoint, I've always tried to understand like what makes somebody dislike you so much. And the only difference is that I got more melanocytes or melanin for all the people out here than somebody else. And I just decided I love humor sometimes and trying to keep things light. I remember I had a patient tell me something around being black, being a black male. And I was like, well, if I'm the darkest person you ever seen, I promise you in for a very rude awakening. And it's not that I'm promoting colorism. I'm just saying, in the range of skin color, I am not the darkest. I'm not the lightest, but I definitely am not the darkest. So if I'm the darkest person, then hey, we got some things to figure out here. But again, that's on you, and you'll figure that out. And so it would be these types of things. And sometimes I would have uncomfortable conversations with people. I was willing to engage with uncomfortable conversations. I talk about my new role, what I do now, or I shouldn't say new, an additional role, because I've probably been doing some of this work before it had a name. Is I talk to people about ignorance and stupidity. Ignorance is simply not knowing. And it's we are ignorant to a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't know how to snow ski. It's something that I'm ignorant of. I don't know how to water ski. I don't know how to ski, period. Water, snow, land, whatever, sand. That ain't my thing. I don't know how to do it. And so I'm ignorant to the, and it sounds real, oh, you're ignorant to that. This just means I don't know. But now, when I start to take things that I have only seen or heard about from other people's experiences, maybe, or their interactions, or they're giving me their perceptions of it, and I have no real evidence of it, I have no interaction with it, and I then start to speak on that thing that I'm ignorant about, like it's the gospel truth. I tell my learners, we move from ignorance now, and we're that S word. They say, ooh, Dr. McGee, what's the S word? And they think I'm gonna say, it's stupid. Let's not be stupid, because that's the difference. And there are people, believe it or not, even in 2024, who have never engaged meaningfully, I will say, with people who don't look like them, who don't come from their communities. And so they are ignorant, and sometimes they are stupid because they are speaking on these things like they're the gospel truth, but they truly have no interaction. And it always baffled me when people would say, I'm one of the good ones. And so I would just go deeper with it because it didn't sit well with me. Yeah. And I don't like to leave places where I feel like I'm disturbed in a way when I could have said something. So I would ask them, what do you mean by that? I'm one of the good ones. They would say, well, you do this, 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 and you this, this, this. And I would say, well, I have a brother. I have two. I got siblings. I got friends. So if you value me that much, then maybe it's one more of me. And if it's one of me, it's two of me. If it's two of me, it's four. If it's four, it's eight. If it's eight, it's 16. If it's 16, it's 32. On down the road. So therefore, it has to be more than you think. And the only difference is you're giving me the benefit of the doubt, and you're giving the doubt to everyone else.
Ooh.
So in life,
it's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here.
I'm sorry. Hey, amen, people. Amen or ouch. By the time you get here, I hope that's what you're saying. Amen or ouch. It's all right to say both of them. I've said ouch a time or two in my day. But isn't it easier to start with the benefit of the doubt than to start with doubt? Doubt is fear. Doubt is uncertainty. And we have fears and uncertainty. But how many of them are real? I'm not worried about somebody coming and burning a cross in my yard. It could happen, Now I live in the middle of St. Louis right now, downtown. So I mean, you would be pretty bold to do something like that. But hey, but I guess that's what I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about certain things that are way beyond my control. Why? Let's go back to the front, people. Hey, I'm a teacher. I'm a professor. It's not my business. So what I can say, if I'm seeing, hearing, and valuing individuals, and I take this approach throughout my life, then yeah, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Because yeah, maybe they can say some words that hurt. And I can be paused, but how much easier does life become when I don't have to worry about that every time I walk around? I'm not saying it's not danger out there, and I'm not saying to be stupid about things to ignore obvious red flags. But I approach people as people,
Yeah.
and I approach them as human first. And that's how I become better, because I learn. I don't know everything. I'm ignorant to some stuff. I accept that. But I know that ignorance is not a bad thing. It's dark in some areas, but this person can give me knowledge. Knowledge gives me light for that darkness, and I can navigate that.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. So this self-awareness, like the ignorance, because a lot of us have ignorance of self, like we don't know us that well. And it seems like you're developing a level of mastery when it comes to knowing who you are and who you're not. So this work that you've been doing or that you've done, how have you been able to get to this level of confidence? Because that's what I see. Confidence and self-assurance of I'm going to control what I can. I'm no longer choosing to worry about what I can't control. How did you get here and how can you help the listeners do the same thing?
To life and counseling. So get your counselor if you don't have one. You
Okay.
know, if I don't know who you are, what your financial status is, but you can find a counselor. You can find you a $25 counselor. You can find you a $250 counselor. Hey, it's not my business now. I'm only can tell you where to go. Hopefully they're good for you, but definitely get your counselor. If you have a financial planner and everything else, if you got insurance, get your counselor. If you don't have insurance, get your counselor. Not your friend, not your pastor. Get somebody who is certified to do these things to talk to you, because that's important. In life, I started to realize I am again, I'm a questioner. Why? And I'm all for self-exploration. So again, we fill our basements and we put all the things, the broken things, the things that hurt us sometimes. But even ask yourself, why aren't you throwing it out? And some of us, we just, we've been conditioned. We've been trained to just hold on to stuff.
Wow.
Because that's what you're doing when you're holding on to that grudge. Throw it out. It's broken. It ain't working for you. And it ain't gonna ever work. You ain't calling no repairman, repair person. You ain't gonna fix it. You ain't got no DIY skills, and you ain't trying to get no DIY skills. But them grudges, how mama and them used to talk about you, when everybody and everything was not going your way. And so, I mean, I lost a person, my role model, the person who in the world was a superhero to me. And it just affected me in a way that I wasn't dealing with it. I dealt with it how I knew. I dove into work. And I did some great work that year or so. Professionally. It was the best year ever. Personally, I was dying, literally on the inside. And I had to make a change. So, because I knew something's wrong and I'm avoiding. Why am I avoiding? And I started to ask myself that question. And when I can't come up with an answer, I knew, where can I go to get the answers? Who can I talk to? Who was I willing to talk to? Who was I not willing to talk to? Why wasn't I sharing?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I got divorced. So hey y'all, I'm gonna be real here with you. I'm not perfect. I'm pretty good and great, but I'm not perfect. And that it was questions. Why couldn't I ever say how I truly felt? Why did I hold on to things? Why didn't I question? Why didn't I fight harder? Why didn't? It was all these why.
Yeah.
So I had to do this self-exploration. And I realized that, I often say that the monsters we running from, we think they under the bed, they in the closet. We think they're horrible looking, they Freddy Krueger and all this other stuff. But when you really hold that mirror up, you sometimes see that monster back in the mirror. And it's pretty because it's you. It was me. I was the monster. And I was the monster because of all the things that I had dumped in that basement that I was holding on to that I ain't had no business. To let it go a long time ago. I know how to say it. I didn't grow up, we didn't grow up hugging. We didn't grow up saying I love you. We didn't do that. So I don't do that.
Yeah.
We want to be non-confrontational. This is what a man should do. You should just put up with everything, because all you're supposed to do when you're married is you go to work, take care of your family, you get them everything. You don't have no say. You don't have to be happy to be married. Happiness is a myth. Who says that?
Somebody said it.
Think about how dumb that sounds. You can be happy. You can be happy 10% of your life. Well, if I make it that 80, and I'm only happy 10%, that's 8 years. That's 7. I just can't live in misery. I just don't believe that is whatever you believe. If you believe in a higher power, don't. I do. God didn't design me for that. To have less years of happiness than I do of anything else. Think about that. And if you don't believe, would you trade that? If I said, hey, you got $80, give me 72 of them and you keep 8. You gonna think that I am a fool. So why are we doing foolish things like this? So I had to go and look in the basement, and I saw some stuff. I saw some, I don't really know how to love when it comes to a personal relationship. I'm not willing to open up here. It was hard to get over when I did something wrong, saying that thing was wrong instead of I'm wrong. All right. That thing is wrong. I'm not. That thing is bad. I'm not. But I was putting it all on myself, because that's what men do. A real man owns up to it. But maybe we've been taught wrong about what real men are, or what real people do, or what these type of people do. When it was, oh, black people don't do that. But we're not a monolith. And now you want me to be monolithic. No, I don't understand. Again, I'm trying to follow your logic until you contradict yourself. And that's a contradiction. So I looked in that basement and I saw a whole bunch of contradictions in there. And I couldn't fix them. Wasn't no repairman coming. I didn't have them the kind of DIY skills. So you know what I said? Hey, we're gonna throw this out. This ain't serving me. This ain't helping me. That happened, 40 years ago. And I'm 43. So I ain't got no business with this right here. It has no use. It don't have a place here.
Wow.
And as you go through and you do that and you move and you change and you re-examine, because that's what you're doing. You're taking stock and inventory. Hey, this is the life that I truly can't envision, that I've said I wanted. So I need to make space and a place for the things that I really want. What does winning look like, was the question that I started to ask myself. How can I get there? Why would I hold on to this? Because I can't win. I can't get space for this. I can't make room for this. I can't open myself up to love if I don't do this. I can't go back and look at relationships that may have been wrong, personal relationships, not romantic relationships. I need to go back and heal some things. I need to say I'm sorry. I don't need to hear I'm sorry from this person, because it's not going to change anything either. So I had to evaluate. And then, you got cobwebs and dirt and all kinds of stuff. So even when you're clearing out space, you still got to clean up some stuff.
Come on.
So I had to throw some stuff away. I had to clean up some stuff. I had to make it pretty. Because it was always there. The space was available. I just chose to throw stuff in there, unorganized, things that didn't need to be there. And there may be some stuff in that basement that I do need to hold on to because I hadn't mastered it all.
Yeah.
But now I can see it. And I know that, oh, when I walk down them stairs and go to the right, it's on the third shelf from the bottom, sitting over there. I need to go over there and touch it. I need to go over there and see that.
Yeah.
Because, it's useful for me today, but I need to let go of it. Because I need to make room for some other stuff. Because the vision that I have for my life, the vision that I want for my life, this don't have a permanent place here. It's only temporary. But that's fine.
Wow. Powerful, powerful stuff, man. Thank you for sharing your truth, your authenticity. Thanks for allowing us in your basement, which is actually a man cave. And what you just shared speak volumes to you deciding to take the padlock off of that door and going down that basement and doing the work. And not just doing the work on your own, but actually asking for help. Because that's what I heard. You sought out help. You got a counselor, you got a therapist, you got somebody to help you pick up, do some heavy lifting on those things that's in the basement. And I also heard that loss, grief and loss and divorce and transition and change and holding on things from the past and becoming better. Like you're doing all the things and some. And I'm curious because there's a lot of people listening, and this is specifically for men, especially men of color, that's never considered therapy, that's never gone to therapy, that's never done it. And you're sharing your story of how much therapy was beneficial for you to be this version of you now. What did you do? Even though life was lifing, you still had to make a decision of, man, let me get somebody in here. I need some help. And you did it. You made a decision, man, let me get some help. And it sounds like it's changed your life in the greatest way possible. How can people who's never gone, specifically men of color, how can men of color who's never considered, never gone to therapy, what are some ideas that you have to get people to consider what you had to reconsider to actually go?
I think you have to start conversing with different people. Seek things out. Your group may not understand, but there is a group. There was a website that I started looking at years ago before I would go. And then something would happen, I get busy. I could reason my way out, that basement, didn't have room for me to be in therapy. But it was called a Good Men Project. And I would just start reading articles about this stuff. So so I was getting some therapy, but that was a one-way dialogue. It's me reading. Remember, I like to think. I like to have my mind stimulated. But that was a partial fix. Oh, I'm trying to read this article. I see some things that resonate with me, and I try to start putting it into practice a little bit. But ain't nobody to give me no accountability. Ain't nobody to check in with.
Yeah.
And all these articles tended to be written by people who were therapists or some type of counselor or somebody who had these experiences with counseling. So then I try to talk to people who've been in counseling, and they're talking about all the wonderful things that it does for them.
Yeah.
And again, as a man of color, in that logic piece, well, if it worked for these people, why can't it work for me?
Yeah.
Now, again, it's hard to go to places where we don't see ourselves, right? Because there are statistics about racial concordance with a healthcare provider. That if you can find a healthcare provider who shares identity with you, you tend to have better outcomes because there is some shared understanding. So you talk about mental health, especially. I'm probably looking for a Black male mental health counselor, even if, because some of y'all don't want to say mental health because you're fine, right? Y'all perfect out there. I know. You need a Black male to talk to. Whatever you got to call it. You need a buddy. I want to be inclusive here because that's part of my role in what I do. So, for those of you who can't say mental health, it's all right. You got a counselor, you got a professional friend that you can have discussions with. Whatever it is you need to tell yourself. But knowing that number is small, I just had to take a chance. And so my counselor is not a Black male, but I'm grateful for him because the first thing that he said to me, though, he honored and recognized that we did not share identity.
Mhm.
And he said, hey, I just want you to know that you may feel like you can't share things with me because I don't share the same identity with you. I am a white male. I don't have some of the same lived experiences. So I don't know how that feels. I don't even know how to begin to say what that feels like. So if you feel like you need someone else, I will find that person for you and I can be the bridge in between until you get that person. He had me sold at that.
Yeah.
Because again, it wasn't him saying he couldn't help me. What he said was, I recognize that I don't share the same. So some things you may talk about, I may have no idea about, but I am willing to learn. He revealed his ignorance. He wasn't too proud of that.
Yeah.
And he said, but I'm still willing to go with you, or I will find the person who best suits you. And I think that's the thing that you have to know about that. And it takes some trial and error. It is like finding that perfect pair of shoes. You go to the store and them shoes look good in the window. You put them on your feet, they ain't just quite right. That's what
Yeah.
finding your counselor is like. It's like finding a mate. You know, you got people you want to hang out with, but somebody you want to spend some long term, get in depth with. Well, that might not be the one the first time. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just not, that's not the one right now. But you keep trying it out because you keep going back. I got my top 5 in life. You know, I say it's, God for me, my family, uh, uh, my barber, my counselor. You know, because my family is gonna be here. I love them. Sometimes I don't always like them, but I love them. God is God, and that's the center of my being, my reason for existing. My barber, because I need to look fresh and clean for speaking and showing up to these places. But my counselor, because I need to navigate life and I don't always have the answers. I don't have the guidance. And at my lowest, I was on the floor. And I was telling myself that get out the bed, walk to the bathroom, put your right foot in front of the other one, step in the shower, turn on the water. If that was how I was going to function through life, I wouldn't function. I was barely getting, and when I say I was on the floor, I was on the floor. And when I'm saying that I'm barely getting by, I'm telling myself to walk down the stairs, turn right, go into your office, try to do something today. I couldn't help myself out of that.
Yeah.
So I needed a guide. I needed to be able to talk these things out. I needed to wrestle with unresolved feelings, things that I didn't get to say to people that I lost. Because we often think, if I could just say this, closure is not for the individuals in the situation, they're for you.
Yeah.
So I learned that I had to close some things. I had to pull some stuff out. I had to go look at some things. Because when you go into the basement, you're examining the things there before you toss them out. And that's what I had to do. And that's what counseling has been to me. And I'm not always at my best, even in this moment, in this season lately. I've just been kind of reflecting, like, man, I'm just tired. I'm great in the moment. It's like Allen Iverson now. I don't want to practice, but coach, when it's game time, I'm gonna drop 50. And that ain't even at my best.
Yeah.
But I know that, and I'm not around here faking it anymore. You ask me how I'm doing, I'm not at my best right now. But that's all right, because I don't have to be. The old me used to say that. I know I always had to be at my best, and if I'm not at my best, I definitely had to portray that I was. But what happens when I say I'm hurting? I'm going through something in the moment. But I got people, a person in particular, but I have people who can help me get through. I'm dealing with it. I'm facing it head on. I'm not sweeping it under a rug and throwing it in the basement. I'm seeing it. I'm looking for that thing. It's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how I move forward. That's how I feel like I've grown 6 inches, and I always wanted to be 6'2". So it may not say it in person, but I feel better than I have ever, honestly.
Mm.
You know, I go to the gym now because it's a part of my mental health. I look at what I eat because it affects my mental health and just how I feel. But I go to my counselor just like I go to, and when I miss him, I feel like I have missed a gym session and anything else. It is a necessity. It's a part of my life. And I mean, y'all can think I'm crazy if you want to, but that ain't my business. I told
Ooh.
y'all at the beginning, you know, what you think about me, if it's not a true reflection of who I am, because I know where I am. And as men of color, we need to stop that, you know. Yeah, I want to be, if you want to be a better father, you surround yourself around role models to grow from. If you want to be better at understanding finances, you get a financial planner, you get people to teach you. If you want to be better at anything, you find somebody to guide you. And sometimes we need to be better at understanding our feelings and emotions because most of us, and I won't just say men of color here, most of us men, we've been taught some jacked up things around feelings and emotion and how to handle them and what we should do to handle them. And so I want to be better. I want to be better fully though. Wholly better. I don't want to just get my bench press better. Because we got great aesthetics, but we toe up on the inside. So I'm trying to be beautifully human.
I love it. I love it. Beautifully human. I think that might be the name of this episode. Beautifully human, because what you just did was give us an opportunity to, this whole episode, we've been in the basement. And I love it because I didn't know where we are going to go, but I'm glad we're here because you allowed people in. And when you have confidence within yourself and you've done the work, you're not afraid of allowing people in the basement and talking about it. And I really appreciate your vulnerability, your authenticity, your integrity, just who you are as a friend, as family, as a brother. Like everything you shared to me is life changing if you're paying attention, if you're listening, because you talked about those three parallels, which is what the show is: who we were, who we are, who we're coming. You're a different version of yourself now than you've ever been before. You know who the hell you were. You know who you were from back then, and you didn't allow it to be anymore. So I really appreciate everything that you shared because a lot of these things, people, especially men, we don't get a chance to hear from other men. And the reason we don't hear it is because a lot of times what we're taught and what we're told. So I appreciate you for stepping out your comfort zone, which this probably wasn't uncomfortable for you at all. But I appreciate if it was, I appreciate you for stepping out your
Not
comfort zone.
anymore.
Not anymore. I love it. And changing the rules of engagement, because that's exactly what happened. You changed the rules, man. And I'm proud, I'm impressed, and I'm appreciative of what you brought to the show today. So with that, because I don't like to leave in the basement. You know what I'm saying? I like us to get up out of that dark space. It ain't even dark down there, but I want us to go upstairs and hang out in the living room before we get out of here today. So in the living room, I got some questions, a couple questions related to who you are now, because you gave us so much, man, so much information based on everything you shared. So let's dive a little bit deeper. But in the living room instead of the basement, I'm curious to know, out of all these years of life, what would you say you've learned about yourself?
Man. Honest, I think I'm a funny dude, man. I can be a wild boy and I can be a funny dude. You know, it's just like because I used to think I was so seriously. You know, fun fact for those of you who don't know us, I used to say that Jason was his external was my internal, and my external was his internal because it was like I was always so serious. I was always worried about making this thing happen, reaching the next goal, and I never allowed myself to feel it, to indulge in it. And I was scared that I would get stuck there. Oh, I'm gonna like hanging out so much. I just want to hang out all the time and not do anything. And it's like, again, how irrational is that? I laugh for a little bit. Okay, 10 minutes of laughter. That's
that's
all you
enough.
get. That's enough. Cut it out. Start being serious. But you know, it's like, no, I love to laugh and have a good time. And that's where I meet people with. And you know, even when I speak, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna throw some zingers in there. I'm gonna tell you some tough stories too at the same time. I'm gonna make you want to cry, but hopefully we're gonna end it and you want to laugh. So that is because I just used to think, I wish I had a sense of humor. I wish I was like, nah, you know what? I might be all right there. I may not be a comedian, but I don't need to be. But you know, I'm
That's
pretty
real.
funny in my eyes. And hey, I told y'all I'm come back to it. It don't matter what you think.
These are facts all day long. So next question, same deal. You know, what have you learned? But instead of about yourself, what have you learned about people in all these years?
Right. People want somebody to listen to them. They want you to engage with them in a way. Even those that say they don't. But the problem is, I think now is that we are too focused in this kind of microwave world. We can only give it about 20 seconds. But I realize when I can tell somebody something they said to me, that because that's when I notice how people just perk up. And it's like, oh, you really did hear me. And this doesn't go to necessarily seeing, hearing, and valuing. It's part of it. But it's like, yeah, you took the time to tell me something about you. I should take the time to give you my attention, because that says how much I think about you or what I think about you. Oh, you remembered that? You remember my cousin 3 times removed was coming into town, you know, just something passing in a random thing. I really try to take something that anybody I engage with. I was at a restaurant waiting for food, sitting at the bar. This guy's name is Jake. I haven't seen Jake since. I knew Jake was working on farms in India, and he was worried about the work. So we just sat and had a conversation. And so I said to Jake, well, and he told me, man, I wish we could be more inclusive. I don't want them to see me as this. And I talked through it. And Jake was worried that he was a white man doing this. He didn't want this white savior mentality. And I just said, well, Jake, do you feel like you are being a white savior? And he was like, nobody's ever asked me that question. I was like, well, you know, if it's a bother for you, Jake, it's coming from somewhere. People want to be helped first and foremost. What's your reason behind helping? Are you doing it for the accolades, or are you doing it to help? And Jake, if you're doing it for the accolades, I can tell you what you mean. And left it at that.
Hey, I hope y'all picking up these these ain't even breadcrumbs. Again, sourdough, loaves of bread, honey bun upside the head. So next piece, I'm curious. What would you say is your proudest moment or accomplishment?
Man, my proudest moment or accomplishment. So I have a daughter, Christiana. I'll even say Nia. Nia was my niece. And being a part of their lives and seeing where they are today. Christiana turns 21 tomorrow, by the way. So if y'all know her, tell her happy birthday. Christiana is at Duke. She is in Italy right now, studying abroad. And in her time in Italy, she has been to Copenhagen, Athens, Barcelona, Munich, Milan. And, you know, I don't know what my influence was, but I'm just proud of the women that they are. Nia is now a sous chef at a restaurant. She followed her dream. And she didn't do it in the way that everybody thought. She started out at Howard. It wasn't for her. She went to culinary school, then the pandemic hit. But somehow she took on going into working in the kitchen. And the strangest thing, she worked at a vegan restaurant and then worked in a steakhouse on the weekend. You can't make this up. And now she's working. She's here in St. Louis, so I get to see her every now and again. She's engaged. And I'm just, you know, I never thought at 43, and, you know, I came into their lives when they were very young, 6 and 10. And now to see them at 21 and 24, it's amazing, man. And, you know, one of the things, we're going to dip into the basement, we're going to come out. I used to think Well, I never wanted to be married and have kids because I was always worried about, again, the things that could go wrong, not the things that could go right. And I look at them now and I see the beautiful women, again, beautifully human.
Yeah.
And even if I had 1% something to do with that, that's a proud accomplishment because I tried what I could at the moment that I knew. And I saw them both in July together. And Christiana, especially because I don't get to see her as often since she's away at school. And it was just a moment, man, where I just sat back and it's like I had this big smile on my face to see what they're doing and what they will become. And to know that they will have opportunities that I never did, and they will do things that will be great and wonderful, and that they have learned to live life to its fullest. So it's a very proud moment. And then I'm proud that I honestly, one of my biggest accomplishments, I'll add that to it since that was about somebody else and you asked about me. We're good at deflecting sometimes. So you don't have to call me out. I'll call myself out, people.
I
You
love
gotta
it.
learn
I
to know for
love it.
yourself. 'Cause you
Shout
asked
out to your
about
therapist. Big shout out to your therapist right now. Big shout out to your therapist.
Yeah. People know who you are now. I know who I am and what I still struggle with sometimes. But I think that's it, man. I am proud that I took the step to go forward because it has helped me from an emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical standpoint. Um, and it really is those four pillars, right? That's what you came up with, ESPN.
All day.
I had to give you credit for that. And because a lot of times, especially as men, we're good. It's easy to stay on the physical piece because we can see that change. It's tangible. I can go lift some weights. I can go run. I can do all these things. But the other parts are the things we can't see. And I'm proud of the fact that I worked on the intangible. And I see the results just like I see the change in the mirror and on the scale and all these other places. And again, in my bench press and my mental bench press is great.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. What's a word, phrase, memory, or moment that has stuck with you personally or professionally?
A phrase, you'll get a kick out of this. A dab or do.
You have to explain.
A dab or do, not a dab or do. But for those of you who need that's my Southern vernacular. A dab will do. Shout out to the late great brother Tyrone Webb, who was probably 5'4". He was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the greatest fraternity ever. Brother Webb taught this class on dressing for success. And in the class, he was talking about how to wear cologne. Again, things that you never know where they will take you in life. And he was talking about how to use cologne. And he was saying some of you brothers will spray the whole bottle at one time. And he said, that's just too much. It's overkill. He said, you just need to know a dab will do. A dab will do. And so in life, I think about that. Sometimes that's all we need.
Yes.
When that person needs to be seen, heard, and valued, a dab will do. Just a minute of your conversation, of your time to hear them. Just stop. Give your attention. A dab will do.
Yeah.
Your partner arguing with you and just stop, turn, face them. A dab will do.
Yeah.
They don't want 24 hours. Sometimes they do. I get it. But in the moment, if you think about it, a little dab every day, builds for a lifetime. So a dab will do. A dab will do.
That's powerful. That's so powerful. I love it. Shout out to Brother Webb.
Rest in peace. Rest in heaven.
Oh man, that's so powerful. I love it. All right, couple more and we're gonna get out of here. If you were to describe the three versions, the three parallels, who you were, who you are, who you're becoming, how would you describe those three gentlemen?
Oh, who I was. a facade of success, who I am, stepping into my purpose. No, stepping and walking in my purpose. Who am I becoming? A fulfilled soul.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Mic drop. Mic drop moment. All right. Last thing before we do some life work. What's an interesting fact about yourself or something people wouldn't believe about you?
Oh, interesting fact about myself. Oof. I am the youngest of 5 siblings. 3 of my 4 siblings. I'm the youngest of 5, I'm sorry. 3 of my 4 siblings, all of us, or 3 of us have a birthday within a week apart. My birthday is June 6th, my brother's is June 9th, my sister's is June 13th. And then on top of that, I am one of about 75 to 80 first cousins because my mom had 17 brothers and sisters. She is one of 18. And we all live in close proximity to each other. No more than the one who lived the furthest away probably lived 20 minutes away. So I was always surrounded by people all the time. And I truly value, I describe myself as an extroverted introvert because you couldn't just sit with that many people and not engage. But I love my solitude and peace because it was hard to come by as a kid. I don't know if it's that interesting, but hey, it's mine, not yours.
It's yours. Oh man, I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. The village. Oh man, you gave a whole new meaning to the village. So with that,
10
last piece,
villages in there.
last piece is on this show we offer life work. Life work is a little different from homework. Life work is a keepsake, something that people can use to pivot, to change, to shift. Homework, you take it home, you do it, you never remember it again. So if you're going to offer some life work to the listeners, what would that be?
Reflect on seeing, hearing, and value. Ask yourself first, because humans are selfish. I mean, it's our nature. When was the last time I was seen, heard, and valued? Because it's hard to give somebody something that you've never had yourself. And if you're lacking or you're not feeling seen, heard, and valued, is it because you won't speak up for yourself? You won't share your feeling? You're hiding something? Or you simply chosen people who don't add to you?
Hmm.
And as you go through that, ask yourself the why. Why don't I feel seen? Why don't I feel heard? Why don't I feel valued? And then I want you to ask yourself, do you see, hear, and value yourself? Because know that because you think differently, I like to say I think different. And I don't have to think the same as everybody else. Is it because you want things that nobody else around you wants? So you've been made to feel wrong? You are valued. It's not about your financial status. You deserve to be heard. And you deserve to be seen in the moment. It's not always about you, but it is about us at times. So that's what I would have you do. And wake up saying, did I feel seen, heard, and valued when XYZ? When I had that conversation with my partner, when I talked to my parents, when I talked to my sibling, when I talked to my friends. And if the answer is no, then it may be time for some hard truths. You need to get in the basement and ask yourself, why am I holding on to that broken thing? Ain't no repairman, and I ain't got the DIY skill. So that's your life work, people.
Done and done. Done and done. This has been another phenomenal episode. Thank you so much for dropping the gem, sharing the story, sharing the truth, allowing us to be in the basement with you. And if people want to connect with you, if people want to reach out, give you some flowers, give you some love, hang out, go hang out in your basement with you, how can people get in contact with you?
Email. I am not on the socials for my own. Well, I am, but I don't check. The best email for me is Julian Magee at yahoo.com. That is JulianMagee at yahoo.com. I promise you that I will return your email. It may not be swiftly or quickly, but I do a lot of traveling around the world. And I appreciate anything. Yeah, I do speaking engagements. I just talk to people, and yeah, I want us all to feel beautifully human. That is my goal. So whatever I can do or say to help you feel beautifully human, that's what I want to do. It's my calling.
Love it. Beautifully human. Done. Done and done. Thank you so much for being on the show. Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts for the listeners before we get out of here?
Nah, I feel like I've said a lot. But yeah, just try to love yourself. And I say try. I want you to love yourself, but you got to start with a true, genuine step in the right direction. I didn't always love who I was fully, but I really appreciate who I am today. And a lot of other people appreciate it. So open yourself up to being loved as well as giving.
Love it. Love it. With that said, man, we're going to close the door of this episode, this chapter, and we are definitely going to have you back for season 2. You better believe that, because you has blessed me. I know you've blessed the audience, you blessed the listeners by just being authentically you. I appreciate your authenticity. I appreciate the journey we've been on together, and we still here 20 years plus, 10 toes down, still rocking and rolling. I'm proud of you. I'm impressed by you. I'm thankful for you, and I love you, brother. Yes, indeed.
I was just going to say the same thing. You beat me to it. I definitely love you. I appreciate you through the storms, the rain, and every other thing, through the good times, because it's been some good times.
Yes,
just
indeed.
as much as it's been some bad times. But I would not be where I am today if I didn't have you in my life. So I can say that. And, again, pick up some of this French bread that we dropping over here. This some high pastry stuff.
Yeah.
You got to go to culinary school for a long time to be able to make bread like this, baby. Tell somebody what they meant to you, because I can tell you when you cannot say that, it is devastating. So yeah, my life has been blessed knowing this man. And I hope you get the blessings that he's putting out here. So yeah, it's all love. And I love you. I'm not saying love your bruh, none. I love you, period. Say that to somebody today.
I love it. Emotional intelligence at its finest. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been another classic episode of the 3 Parallels podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we once were, we embrace who we actually are, and we make room for who we're trying to become. If this episode has been a blessing to you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, do not keep it to yourself. Give it away. Share it, like it, comment, engage, be a part of the community. Give it away. Let people know, yo, I heard this podcast. I heard this playlist. I heard this. I heard that. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself, because you never know how you can be a blessing just by being who you are authentically. Have a great day, great week, great month, great year, great life. Peace.
Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for someone who truly gets it? At J. Branch & Associates, we provide mental health support for BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and others facing unique challenges. We understand the weight of generational trauma, the struggles of identity, and the pressures of being a part of an underestimated and overlooked group. At J. Branch and Associates, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. We create a safe, culturally aware space where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. Finding a therapist who truly fits you matters, and that's exactly what we're here for. Our team of highly trained licensed therapists bring compassion, empathy, and real-world experience to help you on your journey to healing and growth. We're committed to helping you become the best version of yourself. Ready to take the next step? Visit us at www.drjbranch.com for more information, or call or text 404-436-2540 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. You can also book your first session today. Thank you for choosing J. Branch and Associates, therapists of color providing exceptional care to BIPOC communities, quality service, exceptional care from authentic professionals.